guys, this is Comic Uno. Today I'm doing a topic video on the 10 worst 90s kids TV shows, and this was not recommended by anybody, but I'll get back to recommendations next week for Comic Uno, and DarkAvengerINC will have our recommendations on Sunday. And if guys, you have any recommendations, just tell me in the comments below, and if I answer them, that means in a couple of weeks it'll either be on DarkAvengerINC or Comic Uno, because I double dose my topic videos. Usually for DarkAvengerINC I have them on Sundays, which will also be a recommended video this week, and for Comic Uno I have them every Friday. So again, have any recommendations, just tell me in the comments below. But let's talk about the 10 worst kid TV shows. And if you haven't checked out, I have the best 10 90s kids TV shows, so if you want to go check that out, I have that in my uploads and from last week. But I thought this was an interesting topic because I feel like no one does the worst 90s kids shows. There's not a lot of them, so I feel like a lot of people avoid that. It's like, oh, but everything's good in the 90s, which a lot of things were good in the 90s, but I think there were bad shows also. And I want to mention at least the ones I didn't like, and there's definitely reasons. Some of them I actually liked as a kid and I just don't like anymore. Let's talk about those. So number 10 is, a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but Full House. I used to love Full House when I was a kid. I used to watch it so often, but the reason I don't like it anymore is because I saw it so many times. It just got annoying, honestly. I mean, the stories, yeah, they're fine, but they're so perfect. I think my friend really made me see that. He just said they're perfect, and then melodramatic music, you know, DJ getting a B, and that's a big deal. And then every actor in that show, well, not every actor, but a lot of those actors became a little crazy. Mary Kate, Ashley, and then the person who played Stephanie took drugs. Bob Saget was he was very dirty even when he was on the show, and I'm sure he took drugs, I think, also. So a lot of them didn't end up great. I think Candace Cameron is the only one to end up okay. And she's actually one of the only, not one of the only, but one of the few child actresses that actually end up okay. So a lot of people in that cast ended up in a weird place, but they're okay now. But yeah, I just didn't love. I mean, I loved the show as a kid, but now I think it just gets tiring. It's been airing since its debut. It's been on TV, you know. I mean, it ended in I think the late 90s, I think it ended, or yeah, it was probably the late 90s it ended, and then it's still been airing on TV, though, with the repeats, and you see it all the time, and I'm like, I remember this episode, and I can't stand it anymore. So that's why I don't really like Full House, because I think it's been overplayed and overhyped and over-talked about, so, and it's not a perfect show, so I'm gonna give that number 10 for the worst, but obviously, if you watch it first time, it's an okay show. Now, number 9 is Power Rangers Turbo. And I think a lot of people could agree with this. Turbo was a horrible season. It had to do with cars, honestly. I mean, I like the cast for it, a good roster, and even the new cast, but they were better in space. They had a better story in Power Rangers in space, and that was the newer cast of Turbo. But honestly, Turbo is just really... is Cars, come on. I mean, it's Power Rangers and Cars at the same time. It was just really weird. So I'm going to give Power Rangers Turbo number 9. Now, number 8, maybe more people will disagree with this also, but Family Matters. Urkel. I mean, he is just an annoying character, honestly. I think it's one of those things that, you could be adorkable, or you could really just hate him. And honestly, he was just an annoying character. He went to, oh, hi, what's her name? Lori, I think it is. Not Lori. Laura. Hi, Laura. You know, oh, did I do that? It was so annoying, and that's another show that was just really too perfect. I mean, I don't mind perfect shows. I think we should get more perfect shows, but not in a way that's so generic perfect. And I think with Family Matters, like, oh, did I do that? I'm Urkel, I'm so cool. And I think that show should have just been called Urkel, you know? Yeah, I just thought it was annoying, honestly. I thought Urkel was kind of annoying. So that's why Family Matters just wasn't one of my favorites. But I can see why people do like it. I think it's, you like the adorable person or you don't. And I just didn't like Urkel. Let's talk about number 7. Now, this show I used to like, and I think I don't like because it's kind of on the boring side now, but Little Bear. I just think I always got confused when I was little with the turtle one. I can't think of his name. The turtle one. Whatever. Well, I got confused with the turtle one where it had the fox and the beaver, and I think it was on that, Franklin and Little Bear. I always got confused. I was like, oh, I love Little Bear, but I always got confused with Franklin because they both were animals. And Little Bear, don't know, I felt like he was kind of, had boring stories. Even as a kid, I was like, alright, we get it. And I was watching again, I'm like, alright, we get it. So Little Bear was more of a annoying show, and boring, I think, even for kids. It just, I think, again, it was actually really, I think it was on at the same time with Franklin, and that's why I always got them so confused. But I think Franklin was the better version of Little Bear. I think they had books also. I think it was based on the books, so Little Bear. Number 6 is Hey Dude. This was actually recently on 90's or All That, and I think that was like the second time slot, or the second running for 90's or All That. First was like Kenan and Kel and all that, and they're like, oh, let's put Hey Dude into the time slot. So Hey Dude is just really bad acting. The one of the people from Sabrina the Teenage Witch was in it. And it's just like they're on a ranch. Like, why would I care? And it wasn't funny, and they tried to force funniness, and the characters weren't that likable. Again, they were just on a ranch working there. And I honestly don't hear a lot of people say they like Hey Dude. It's just, I think it was the acting that was so bad too, and it reminded me of Power Rangers acting, and that's pretty bad. At least Power Rangers has their action and their nostalgia, but with Hey Dude, I think it lasted like 2 seasons also. It was just really boring, and the characters were, like, why would I watch a show about horses on a ranch? Yeah, so Hey Dude, not that great. Number 5 is one I don't like, because I guess maybe a lot of people talk about it, and that's Salute Your Shorts. It was about the camp thing. I think the characters were kind of annoying, honestly. I remember this redhead character that I just wasn't a fan of. I think it was, maybe I didn't grow up at that time, and when I did watch it, it was a little bit older, so I was like, oh, why would people like Salute Your Shorts? But I think it's the reason I don't like that show so much, because it was really overhyped, and everyone was like, oh, remember Salute Your Shorts? I love that show. But I just felt the jokes weren't that great, and the story wasn't that great. But I think it's just maybe because I was older when I saw the show. So, Salute Your Shorts. Yeah, but I understand why people might like that one, but I don't. It wasn't my taste, I guess. Hey Dude and Salute Your Shorts, I think I can see where people like it. It's just that it wasn't my taste, and that's why I didn't really like those shows. It's kind of hard to pick worst shows, and that's why I was like, oh, what didn't I like? I mean, they weren't bad shows, but I didn't like them, personally. Number 4 is Taina. You guys remember this show. I think it lasted 2 seasons. The main character only did this show. The only thing good about it was the song, the theme song. I think everyone remembers the theme song. I'm not going to sing it for you guys, but I think everyone remembers it. Search it if you like. I think that's the only iconic thing from that show. But everything else was the acting wasn't good. I think with these shows you tend to see why I don't like them. The acting wasn't that great, or at least even passable for a kid's show. And the story just, I remember watching it again. I remember knowing Taina because of the theme song, but the theme song doesn't live up to the show. Or no, the show doesn't live up to the theme song. The theme song was great, got our attention, but when we watch the show, it's like, wow, this is not entertaining at all. It's very generic, and I think she was from Brooklyn or something. It's just it was a generic Brooklyn thing, or a generic New York thing, and it just wasn't entertaining. It wasn't funny. I think it was just, I don't know, again, the theme song was the only thing I liked. But number 3, this actually scared me as a kid. Nick News with Linda Ellerbee. We actually made fun of this on my web show, Mother Versus, on Random Situations. And Linda Ellerbee, I don't know, she always used to scare me. And I don't know why they have Nick News. The kids, they always pick topics that weren't that interesting. And really, they didn't make a show that entertained kids and also have information that was important to our world. And that's why I think the show, I think it's actually still on, honestly, with like some rare annual TV shows. I think I've seen commercials for it. But I felt like it just didn't target kids. It's like they tried to make news for kids, but it didn't go so well. And she wasn't that entertaining. Again, I think as a kid I never liked the news, so it just kind of scared me when I watched it. So I think they should have made it more kid-oriented to make kids like the news, but also enjoy the show and not be scared of it. So Linda Ellerbee, didn't like that show at all. And I'm surprised that's still on. Number 2. Now, I used to like the game, and I'll tell you more about that. But Thomas the Train. my brother and I we had the tracks, we used to play with them all the time. And it was so fun to collect those tracks and everything. And I loved that part of Thomas the Train. But the show really was not good. I remember watching it as a kid and I'm like, wow, the game is so good, but the show is so boring. I think that's the trend of a pattern I have with these shows, is a lot of them as a kid were boring. And that's not a good sign for kids. Kids get entertained really by anything. But Thomas Train, he was really, what can you do on a track, really? They just went straight on tracks like, hey, I'm a train. I mean, they had some stories with other trains. I think there's a red train also. But what can you really do with 2 people on a track? 2 trains. I don't know. Wasn't that entertaining. But the tracks were really fun to play with. Now the first one, I think, was a scary show for parents to watch, I think. And now it's Teletubbies. I watched it as a kid too. I did. And I remember Lulu. I think she was the yellow one. Or he. I think it was a he also was Lulu and he was yellow. But Teletubbies, that was a weird show. I mean, whoever made that show, they must have went somewhere. Because they must have been high writing that show. Because, first of all, they have TV screens on their stomach. The sun had a face on it, and a baby face on it. And then the voices were weird. I felt like if you watched that show, you'd be just hypnotized. It's like that's the reason they're trying to hypnotize children with that show. It's just so weird. And as a kid, I don't know why I liked it. They just sang some weird songs. They had weird voices. They had weird heads. Like, how did someone come up with that show? I think that was probably the weirdest show I ever watched in my life. And then when I look back at it, I'm like, what is that? And then they had I think a windmill, some weird windmill also. I don't even remember the stories, honestly. I just remember how weird that show was. I remember that was really one of the biggest jokes in the 90s. It's like, oh, do you guys watch the Teletubbies? Because it was just a weird show. So I guess that's why it gets #1, because of the weirdness of the show. And I don't even know how someone would create that show unless they I don't know. I really don't. So Teletubbies was #1. But guys, these are the shows that I didn't like that much. Most of them because they were kind of boring, honestly. Some of them I liked as a kid, like Full House I liked as a kid. But when you watch them as older, again, this list is about being a kid and being older and still liking it. And that was about my top 10 also. Liking as a kid and also liking as older. And this is a show that I just didn't like as a kid and I still don't like. A lot of them are just weird. A lot of these shows, I can't even explain why I don't like them, honestly. It's just, some of them are just weird, and I think Teletubbies was definitely not #1. But tell me in the comments below, what did you not like in the 90s, and maybe you didn't like it as a kid and you still don't like it, or you just don't like it now. So what do you think are the worst shows in the 90s? I think a lot of people don't do this list, and I think it's interesting to see what people don't like. Maybe a lot of people like that show, and you just didn't. There's a show that I won't mention on this video. There's a show that everyone likes and I don't. I'm afraid if I mention it, people are not gonna like my opinion on it, so I won't mention it. But yeah, there's probably some shows that a lot of people love and you didn't like. But tell me in the comments below what those shows are. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll have another topic video next week. And guys, this is Comic Uno, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.